A California resident is suing a digital legal services company after learning he wasn't being advised by a licensed attorney, but rather an AI chatbot.
Yeah, in the suit, the plaintiff alleges the company called Do Not Pay presented itself as an affordable alternative to hiring an attorney that was well equipped to advise users on minor legal issues such as disputing traffic tickets and drafting basic contracts. However, upon using the service, the plaintiff was provided with what it refers to as a poor substandard legal advisor. They are now suing the company for operating without a law license and are seeking unspecified damages.
All right, we're going to take up the case in National Report Court. For the purposes of this segment, criminal defense attorney Brian Silber would be presenting the side of the plaintiff and defending that AI legal services company, criminal defense attorney Dwane Cates. Gentlemen, welcome, and thanks for coming on. All right, Brian, let's walk through this case here. How would you prove Do Not Pay falsely represented itself?
Well, I think the real issue is that, products like this company's really miss the mark. The practice of law is not like making a recipe like chocolate chip cookies where you can just look at a simple list of things and practice. The practice of law requires character because you're going to face ethical issues, you're going to face ethical questions, and the most important ones are going to be the ones that have never been seen before in the gray zone. It requires intuition. Let's say when a lawyer's cross-examining a witness on the stand, he needs to instinctively know what question to ask, how to ask it, how to pick a jury. Okay, these are all things that a robot simply cannot do. And most importantly, you need a human to be responsible. A lawyer takes legal responsibility for his work. Okay, if you have a robot doing it, the human element just isn't there. And frankly, the people that are going to suffer the most are the market that they're supposedly trying to serve, the underprivileged, the poor, the people who are not sophisticated enough to understand how complicated their problems can be. When you take the human out of law, you take the practice out of practicing. And frankly, this is no different than any other area in our society. We wouldn't have robot police officers making the decision when to shoot. We wouldn't elect a robot president who's going to decide when to nuke our enemies. You can't take the human element out of the courtroom. And frankly, it's a ridiculous joke that they're even trying to do this.
Well, Brian, clearly you haven't seen RoboCop, okay? Because then,
exactly.
or the remake.
Terminate.
I know. Dwane, let me dive in if we can. Let's get in the nitty-gritty, if you will, of the lawsuit here. It reads in part, plaintiff Jonathan Faradian bringing this class action complaint and demand for jury trial against defendant Do Not Pay to stop the world's first robot lawyer from continuing to engage in the unauthorized practice of law. Unfortunately for its customers, Do Not Pay is not actually a robot, a lawyer, nor a law firm. Do Not Pay does not have a law degree, is not barred in any jurisdiction, and is not supervised by any lawyer, unquote. So, Dwane, in your thoughts here, the company, did they engage in unlawful practice of law?
Well, I don't think they do, because the robot isn't in court saying things. It's not addressing the judge. It's not talking. It's the client talking. And, and many times clients that are unrepresented have a lot of ideas from their family and their friends about what to say in court. They're much better off having something that at least is based in proper legal theory when they go into court. In criminal law, I mean, there are a lot of people that are unrepresented because if you're not facing jail time, they don't have to give you a public defender. So you're left in there to just fend for yourself. And I've watched a lot of pro pers flounder in court and just not make a very cogent argument. And I think if they had some legal advice from the robot, they could do it. But the robot itself is not practicing law. It's just simply advising the client what they should do and shouldn't do in court.
Brian, what do you make of that defense?
Let me tell you something. No robot is ever going to have a Perry Mason moment in court, okay? And frankly, the idea that you're going to send people to court with a computer, it's off the mark. These people are going to suffer from poor representation. And I'll tell you what, nobody's denied a lawyer. Just like everything else in our capitalist society, you can go out and hire an attorney. If you're not facing jail time in the jurisdictions where they won't give you a public defender because you're indigent, okay, that's a different story. All right. But people can go hire a lawyer, just like you can hire a doctor. You can hire an auto mechanic. You can hire someone to paint your house. That's how America works. We hire people and we trade currency for services and products. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, at the end of the day, lawyers are here because they are human beings who are trained not only in the law, but in ethics. And I know that's a surprise to many people, given the jokes about lawyers that are out there. But 99% of lawyers do a good job and are ethical people that look out for their clients, because guess what? A lawyer's reputation is how he makes a living. And if you have a bad reputation because you're a scoundrel, you're just not going to make it out there. And you know what? A robot can never compete with that. And the idea that they're trying to do this, to me, is hysterical, because you know what? I'll take on a robot any day in court. And you know, I'll even go further. The poor people who hire these robots because they're cheap are going to suffer the most, because the people with money are going to hire real attorneys who are just going to clean their clock in court. And it's unfortunate.
Right, but what about the people? What about the people that can't afford a real attorney? I mean, how do you know I'm not a robot? How do you know I'm not using AI right now in this argument? Okay.
How about the people who can't afford a roof over their head? How about the people that can't afford food? The answer is not make a subject.
But the problem is there are people that are going to have to choose between hiring a lawyer or buying food. And if you can provide them a low-cost alternative so they can have some legal representation and food to eat, that's great. Now, you know, a lawyer's always going to beat a robot, absolutely. But you're talking about civil cases.
You're just talking over me. I can't say anything if you're going to talk over me.
All right.
Well, you just talk on and on and on and never get a word in. So the only way
Order in the court. Order in National Report Court.
Emma threw the gavel. We got to listen.
Okay, interesting. Hey, I always like to think about these cases, too. Of course, they haven't gone through the courtroom yet, although we're talking about it on National Report Court. So we don't know what the outcome is going to be. But let's just say, Dwane, looking ahead, could this mean any sort of different precedents would be set in regards to how Do Not Pay or any other sort of AI service would market itself to potential clients? Would this be a sort of a pause for how they might describe the services? Say, hey, by the way, we can provide the resource of legal advice, but we are robots. It's an AI program, and therefore take it with a grain of salt.
Well, they absolutely have to do that. There has to be truth in the advertising. You can't say, hey, we're going to provide you with a lawyer and then give you a robot lawyer without telling you. They just absolutely can't do that. You know, there has to be truth in advertising. Now, these robot lawyers are doing a lot of work in the legal field right now, reviewing contracts and things like that. I mean, big law firms are using them to go through discovery and to review contracts. But you know, if you're going to advertise to the general public, you absolutely have to tell them the truth about the service they're getting.
Very interesting topic. We're out of time on this. We appreciate both of you gentlemen on this case. Very unique case, if you will. Brian Silber, Dwane Cates, we'll see you again. Thank you so much, guys.
Take care.
All right. Well, meanwhile, listen to this. A 9-year-old's quick thinking